y dos, y dos, una, y dos, una, y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortes NYC Livestream, the podcast. This is a bi-weekly show broadcasting out of New York City. We are your hosts, Cortes NYC
and Carla de Puerto Rico.
And on this show, we talk about art, creativity, city life from a Latino perspective. I'm a visual artist.
And I'm a singer.
And this is episode 11, Do It for a Living.
Like always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Podbean under Cortes NYC Livestream. And also, you can find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram.
And then I want to give a shout out to some of our fans and friends on Instagram, starting with Mr. Dad 1, HD83 crew from Puerto Rico. What up, Mr. Dad?
Whoop, whoop.
Smart as Murph, Fusion 418, Danny your nemesis, Alex Armando Torres. What's good, homie?
Hey.
He's a filmmaker from New York. Reader 1717, Vang 94, Wave, Rock 275, Christopher MC, Cafe Art, No Free Drinks Podcast, La Verdad Podcast, TKNEAM, and Chico and the Grin. All right. So, how to make a career in art. How to provide for yourself and your family with your art. You know, how to make money, generate income, and make it a lifestyle so that you can do it for the rest of your life. And I guess some of the sacrifices that have to be made.
Yeah.
So it's not all
Peaches and cream.
wow, peaches and cream.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
It's
Yeah,
difficult.
It's not all easy. It's all difficult, and there's no one path.
Yeah.
So this conversation, to prepare for this conversation, I had to really think carefully. I was gonna get into a lot of options to kind of cover a lot of different careers, but I just realized there's no way I'm gonna cover all the careers. So I'm just gonna focus on what I know firsthand, and hopefully it fits some scenarios out there and it'll help some of you guys to kind of reflect on this. All right, but starting from the beginning, we gotta go way back to when you're starting. First, you gotta define how committed are you to this art thing. Are you doing it just for fun because people like what you do and it's a pastime, or do you really see it and you see a market out there and you see it reflected in the world around you? Where do you see art and where do you see yourself fitting into that? I think that's the first part, because you should have a vision of where you want to be right from the beginning. You know, how do you fit into the art world? And I think that will help you to decide the next step, which would be schooling. So if you want to make a career as an artist, schooling is important, because we are in a technology-driven society now compared to when I was younger, when I was starting. My best advice to everybody would be, yes, you definitely need an education. You need a higher education as well. You need to get into technology. You need to get into some sort of graphic element. Even if it's not that you're going to do it as a career, but even if it's just to promote yourself and to package your own portfolio and do your own website, you need to have some of the knowledge, some of the information that is in a formal education. So let's get that out of the way. Schooling, that's step 2. If you want to make a career, you need to have some form of schooling. I went to college for fine art. I learned a lot of the graphic stuff and illustrative stuff in high school. So I got some of that stuff out of the way in high school. So once I went to college, I went for fine art, and there wasn't any computers really involved. It was very hands-on, painting and drawing and things like that. I developed my computer skills when I started getting into buying a computer and getting into that kind of thing, and getting commercial work and that kind of stuff. So that's where I started to develop my computer training on my own. But if somebody's starting right now, I would definitely tell you just start from there. Get that information up front. The next step would be your resume and your portfolio, because once you're finishing your schooling, whatever it may be, whether it's a 2-year, a 4-year, 6 years, whatever you want to do, resume and portfolio, right? As an artist, you need to have a clear definition of what you've done of your experience, a documentation of your experience. A good resume, clean, to the point, even if you've done small projects. So let's say you're graduating from college and you have done a few projects for friends or maybe a small company, a local company. Put that on a resume. Even if it's not full-time work, put it on a resume. All these experiences, any experiences you had in college. Carla, on your resume, you've got experiences, right?
Yeah, and that's another thing I was going to say. If you're in college, even if you are in a 2-year college, let's say in a community college, take advantage of your time there and try to make connections with your professors, with people that that can help you to find opportunities as internships. Because then I think that if you're in a community college, you do this internship, you're going to figure out if you're really in the right route, or maybe you need to change a little bit, or if you need to change all of it. So I think taking advantage of that time, doing these internships and opportunities, getting to clubs, art clubs, any club where you can develop projects so that you can add it to your portfolio.
Yeah.
All this is very important and is very helpful for the future.
Yeah. Okay. So then, let's say you have your resume already and you have a portfolio. Your portfolio you have to put together. We've discussed portfolios previously in other episodes, but you have to put together a portfolio of the work that represents you the best. You don't need a lot of pieces. You just need some key pieces. A website, nowadays a portfolio could be, we discussed this also, it could be a website, something like that. Have these things ready, cleaned up, and ready to go to represent you the best you can. Now you're ready to enter the job market. You can go on these websites that kind of fit whatever you're looking for, whether it's LinkedIn or other, specific to your market, to what you're trying to get into. If you're getting into gallery work, or museums or something like that, it's going to be different. You're going to look for different resources or education if you're going to become a teacher, an art teacher or something, That's different than if you're going to work in the fashion industry or something like that.
Exactly.
Specifically for myself, in my job searching, I ended up working within t-shirt companies and fashion. So as a graphic designer, there's a lot of places you can go. There's headhunters and things like, different resources that will place you in companies and set you up for interviews. All you have to do is be prepared and be ready and be open and willing to sell yourself and pitch it, and pitch what you can do and your experiences firsthand. So I think at that point is when you start to come across, and this is what every artist comes across, and I think this is the meat of the subject here, is when you're going to try to survive as an artist, are you going to try to survive as an independent artist, or are you going to try to find full-time work and work within an entity? So we were just describing, let's say, working at a museum. You can become an art historian and work on your own as some sort of, like a freelance consultant or something. Yeah. Or you can look to work within the system, within an institution, and find a position within an institution to give you an art historian, position. I don't know what that would be, but in my field, you could be a freelancer. You could work, a few hours or on your own. Either you could work, as a full-time freelance basis, meaning like for a few hours a week, and you come in and you do some of the work in-house, or you can work full-time. You work within a company and, you work your 40 hours and all that kind of stuff. There's pros and cons to working freelance and full-time, and this is the conversation that we're having now. Is it's no fun to be a freelancer and work your ass off, and you have no health insurance, or if you have children, you have no way to provide for your kids.
Yeah.
That's a real, it's hard to be creative under those circumstances. And
that depends on your situation also. Let's say you're young and you're starting, you can do freelance and you can do a lot of work like this type. But if you have already a family and you're looking for something more stable, then you're going to go to the full-time route. Yeah.
Well, so let's do the pros and cons.
Okay.
Pros and cons of, let's start with freelancing, because that's how I started my career. And I think most artists do that, because while you're looking for work and you're looking for that job you want, you're probably going to end up taking freelance gigs. It's very rare that you go straight from college right into a full-time job. because there's so much competition out there for artists. So freelancing, the pros. The great thing about freelancing is that you get, number one, you get probably paid more than full-time per project. Because if you're freelancing, you can include a rate that includes, let's say, the taxes you're going to have to pay back on that, at the end of the year. You can include your own time per project versus being paid by the year as a yearly salary, where you might be doing a bunch of projects within that same amount of time. Here you're charging per project. Also, another positive thing is the variety of work. Different kinds of projects. You get to pick and choose which project you want. You can't do that in a full-time job. You can't be like, nah, I'm going to pass. I don't want to do that if you're working full-time. But as a freelancer, you could always pass on a project. You could always say, that's not really for me, or the money's not right. You can negotiate. That's another good thing about being a freelancer, that project to project, you can negotiate fees. So you're constantly able to renegotiate. So there's positives to that if you know how to negotiate and you know how to hustle your work. Another positive for freelancing is that you make your own schedules. You are the master of your own company, right? You decide when you get up, when you do the projects. You want to be a good businessman too. You don't want to mess up on deadlines and let the project linger for too long and lose clients. But you do have the opportunity to manage it yourself, Another positive for freelancing is you're making a name for yourself when you're freelancing. When you're working full-time, you're kind of invisible within a company. You kind of blend into the group. When you're freelancing, you stand out. It's your name on that. You get full credit. And depending on what market you're working with, you're going to get credits on the actual product. So if you did a web design and it was a freelance project, you can get your name on that website, designed by blah, blah, blah. I have credentials for album covers that I've done, where it says artwork by, Chris Cortes, or, CD cover by Chris Cortes. I think in the fashion market, it's a little tougher because I've seen where, they try to take credit. They don't want to give any credit to the artist. They just want to give credit to the brand. Yeah. And that's where you can disappear. But, you pick and choose. As a freelancer, you can pick and choose what kind of projects will boost your career and your visibility. And then another thing about freelancers, last thing I would say, another pro is that you get the opportunity to probably make connections, more connections than you would as a full-time artist. By meeting new people constantly, you are being put into new circles of people that will open up more doors and more doors for you. So that's good if you're hustling properly and you're managing your business properly. You can build a good reputation for yourself, and you can end up in new places that can open possibilities to slip your resume if you find the place where you want to get a full-time job. The problem with that is that if they see you as a freelancer, it's hard for them to believe that you want to be a full-time artist. And you have to kind of balance that. You have to play that game. If you're a freelancer long enough, people are going to assume that you are a freelancer and not a full-time artist. And then if you want to make the switch over to full-time, it's going to be a little more, you're going to have to do a little more convincing to show that why you are trying to be a full-time artist now and that you're reliable for a full-time position. The negatives for freelancing is, we discussed it earlier, you have to pay taxes at the end of the year. At the end of the year, you have to manage your money properly so that at the end of the year you can have some money left over to pay your taxes on that. You have no health insurance, so you have to provide your own health insurance. That's why another reason why you should boost up your prices if you're a freelancer. Because you can set your own schedule, sometimes projects can overlap and your clients don't have any sympathy for that. For, let's say you woke up feeling sick, or your wife is sick and you have to take care of your wife, or your kids are sick and when you're a freelancer, nobody's really watching your days off. You got no paid time off. Every day is a work day when you're a freelancer. Unless you get comfortable with that, it's very difficult to have a normal lifestyle, a steady lifestyle, let's say with family and all that, if you're a freelancer. Let's talk about full-time work. The positives of full-time work is you have a steady check. Once you've done the interview, you got the gig, and they said, yeah, okay, you got this position, this is you're hired. You don't have to worry week to week, how am I going to pay the rent? When you're a freelancer, every month you're stressing. If you haven't seen a project in a while, you might end up stressed. Or if they haven't paid, because that's another negative about freelancing. My bad. I forgot. That was the last one. The last negative about freelancing is that you have to chase your checks. Just because you did the job and just because you got paid up front doesn't mean that you're going to get that second payment, the final payment, when you deliver immediately. So if something's going on and the project is being delayed, you might not get paid on time. You might get paid when the project is complete. And that might mean that you don't see that check on time to pay the rent. And if you were depending on that check, that's when the stress comes in. Another thing about chasing money is you might end up chasing multiple clients around for money, and you might have a bunch of money that you're chasing around, constantly looking to see how am I going to get this, this money from these people. That happens. And it's really stressful when you have multiple clients and you're trying to keep on top of them while still finding new clients and producing new work. That's the hard part about that. When you're working full-time, you don't have to chase your checks. So that's a positive about working full-time. Obviously, some full-time jobs will give you free health insurance, things like that.
And you don't have to worry about taxes either.
Right, because the taxes are pulled out. Exactly. That's already part of the concept of your salary. Another positive about full-time work that I actually have learned to enjoy is working with people. When you work freelance, you tend to work by yourself in your studio. When you're working full-time, you work with people. So you begin to develop a camaraderie with people, with peers. You work as a team. Depending on the kind of projects you do, I mean, some freelancers might have a team of people working on things. But for the most part, if you're an artist, you're probably going to end up working on your own if you're a freelancer. I think another positive for full-time employment is that you're working with your peers and you can learn from your peers. Everybody's open to teach each other because we're all on the same team working together. When you work freelance, sometimes you don't have those people around you to teach you things. And unless if you're very resourceful and you can learn on your own, you might end up isolated and falling behind.
And also you can learn about the business. It's not only about your work at the company, but also how the business work, how every other department exactly. They have to work together in order to get this done. How everything happens, everything is a process. So
so that's a good point. If you're working full time, another positive can be working with other departments of your market. You might develop some new skills that you didn't think of. Obviously, if you're working full-time, they're going to give you tools to work. You don't have to buy your own computer. You have a computer at your office. You have the tools that you need, the latest software. Hopefully, if you're working for a decent company, they'll provide that for you. So that's another positive, that if you are somebody who's just beginning and you get a full-time job, you're fortunate enough to have a decent company, you will have the tools to teach you other things, All right, so I think those are some of the full-time positives. The negatives of full-time, if you're working for too long at a job and you're not seeing a raise and you have to renegotiate, and that's where you get into politics, office politics, you get into maybe having to change jobs, change companies. It's difficult if you've worked for a long time in an office to create new opportunities. Full-time work, that's the tricky thing about it. Once you sit down in that cubicle, time flies. Once you're sitting in that office working as a part of a team, you realize time really flies. And if you don't pay attention, you have to learn to pay attention. If you don't, time can pass you by and you might end up looking back and saying, where am I? What am I doing? So that's a negative, that's a common negative that people say. Another negative of full-time work is that it's draining, the hours. At the end of the day, if you have a job that drains your creativity, at the end of the day, you're not going to have any creativity for yourself left over to do your own projects. So if you're somebody who likes to do other types of projects, you have to pick and choose what kind of full-time job you want, so that it fits your lifestyle. So that could be a negative for some people. Let's say if you have a full-time job in an office, or let's say if you work, let's go back to the museum concept. Let's say you work in a museum and you have a full-time job and you're working 40 hours a week for some museum, and your passion is your own, career in art history or something. I don't know. Maybe you're writing a book on art history, but you're working in a museum in the daytime, and now you want to write a book at night. Your book is going to get delayed a bit, because you're going to be drained. It's going to be hard to do. Let's see, what other things are the negatives? I think another negative can be, the people. So the people can be a positive and the people can be a negative. Here we go. So the negative can be, you might end up working in an office where you don't get along with everybody.
Yeah.
And that can be a negative of full-time work. In a freelance job, you can always just say, I don't like that person. I'm done with the project. Goodbye. And you never have to see them again. you know. But I mean, Carla, you work full time. You know what it's like to work a full time job, and people are difficult.
Yeah, people are difficult, and you know, at the end of the day, it depends how you take it and how you take your job. And sometimes some people, they like to they don't have like everything is together, let's say. So whatever their social life and their personal life is, they mix it with work. But sometimes it doesn't have to be like that. We know that we're working for long hours with this person that we don't really get along, but sometimes we can make it as professional as possible, where it's gonna be, we're gonna talk about work and this is gonna be it, and that's it. We're just gonna do work, that's all. So it is difficult, but I guess if you have the opportunity and if you really want that job, just do your job the best way you can, and you'll see better results than getting into you know, a discussion or arguments with this other person.
Yeah. I think my personal career, I have enjoyed working full time, but I've also enjoyed my freelance work, and I've also enjoyed my side projects. I've been able to find a decent balance. I enjoy working with people. I think I've learned a lot from all the people that I've worked with throughout the years. A positive thing about freelancing that I miss is being able to have so much free time to travel and do things. You know, you could get up and do your work remotely. Mm-hmm. If you're doing one project today and tomorrow you have to be, let's say, in California, you can get on a plane and go to California, still do your project. Nobody's waiting for you in an office somewhere, you know, and then you could still manage all your gigs. Mm-hmm. But I would recommend, my personal opinion, I would recommend full-time work. Whether it's in the beginning or eventually, but it is a positive thing for an artist, a commercial artist. Find your niche, whether it's in illustration or graphic design, web design, fashion design, you know, I don't know, video game design. There's so many different types of things.
Anything.
But, you know, find your niche. They're out there. If you go every once in a while, just do a little job hunt and see what's out there, even if you're a freelancer right now.
Exactly. That's another thing. Just go and Google, I don't know, full-time jobs in illustration, just like that. And you're going to see all the opportunities you have out there. Maybe you're not prepared right now, but you'll see how many jobs openings they are. And then you can just get your resume together, portfolio together. And when you're ready, go ahead and apply.
And jobs change. That's something that I've been working since the 90s, right? So it's been what, 30 years? And I've seen careers change. I've seen job titles change. The old job hunts that I would have done would have landed me in different places. When I do a job hunt now and I look at what's being offered for positions, they're different. Companies are different now. Mm-hmm. Companies change. So just because you might have started at one point and said, you know what, I don't like any of these opportunities that I have for full-time work, I'm going to freelance, doesn't mean necessarily that it's always going to be like that. You might end up molding and becoming somebody that eventually you see a job opportunity that does fit you. You should be open to that. Full-time work, office work is not a bad word. You know what I mean? And it's not forever. That's another thing that you should realize as well. Full-time work, you know, you're not locked unless you're locked into some sort of contract. You know, companies are constantly changing people. And
right now, because of technology, there's so many ways that you can still work from home full-time if that's something that you are afraid of, that you're not gonna have your freedom. There's so many things and so many arrangements that you can do with your boss that don't worry about it. You can talk about it. You can just start in the office and then move on into other opportunities.
True. And then for freelancers, I would say more power to you. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are somebody who is pursuing your own thing, maybe you want to have your own company, your own brand, maybe you have your own art that you're promoting or your own merchandise that you're making, more power to you. You know, I know it's hard work. I have a lot of friends that do it, that have been doing it for years. And, you know, as long as you develop those skills and that muscle to do that, you can also succeed as well. But it is a sacrifice.
Separa menos tiempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Culture Talk. Carla.
Yes.
Dancing.
And listen to the music.
Culture Talk this week, we are discussing
Good manners in Latino families or Latino communities.
modales.
Buenos modales.
Buenos modales, good manners, things that we learn growing up. When if you grew up in a Latin community or Latin culture with your family, that normally you learn as this is what you're supposed to do. This is the right thing to do. That maybe when you get older you don't really see it. People forget it.
You don't do it.
You don't do it.
You move, and I mean, people that come from other countries, they move to here and they get used to society and the way it works here.
Yeah. And like, I mean, some of it is that you'll come to a bigger city. Let's say you'll come to New York or United States, a bigger country, a bigger city, and you'll see so many different people that have different types of manners and mannerisms and customs that you might just get confused and just kind of let go of some of the things that you learned, right?
Yeah, no, and there's some things that because we live in a big city, you'll be like, I'm not gonna do that because this can be dangerous for me. So yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That's true.
Some of it comes from that as well. But okay, so manners, being polite, right? Things that we learned.
Yeah, so first one I want to get into is greeting people. So when we're little, or at least people that grew up in a Latino community, they will tell you, oh, you have to say good morning. You have to say good afternoon.
Yeah.
You have to say hello to everybody that is here. And that's something that it is still important, because if you don't do that, sometimes people can see you as what's going on with him. Like, why is he or she's not saying hello? So antisocial or something like that.
When I was a teenager, I had a friend I used to bring home. We always used to hang out, so I used to bring him home, and we would go into my house, and he would walk right past my dad.
Oh my god!
And we would go straight to my room to whatever, watch a movie or draw in black books or whatever we were doing, put on music and just draw. And he would walk right past my dad. He wouldn't say anything.
Oh no.
He would come out if he wanted to, like, go to the bathroom or whatever. He would come out of the room, go like straight to the bathroom, go whatever, go to the kitchen to get something to drink. And I remember I think it dawned on me, I think after a year or something, I was like, oh, yo, he doesn't do that. That's right. And it was so weird. But he was Spanish. He was Colombian.
Yeah?
But it was so weird that he didn't have that custom. Something about him, he just didn't have that. I don't know if he was just embarrassed or shy. I don't know what was his deal. But he was very, he was part of the family. I mean, he over the years, we knew each other. But I remember my dad pointing that out. This guy, he just walks right in. He just goes right past me. He doesn't say anything. Only says goodbye. That's what he would say is goodbye.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know where that was from. But I would always say hello to everybody. I go to somebody's house. Are you kidding me? Hello. Bueno, hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Buenos días. Mucho gusto.
Yeah,
sí.
Me growing up and more, I was going into my friend's house and all that. And sometimes we'll get to the house before the parents after school. I don't know. And then when the parents get there, we'll be like, hey, hello, hi everybody. And then we go out to the living room and everybody will be talking. Everybody will talking about the day and eating together. So yeah, I guess it depends on the person also.
It depends on the person. Okay, the other thing about that though is when you do greet and you're taught to greet, and then when you don't do it in front of your parents and your parents tell you oh yeah, they remind you, they tell you say hello, and you're like, God, I know what to say. That's funny.
I know.
That. I had that.
That's annoying.
That's annoying. My kids, it's funny with my kids. I have to. You've seen them. I have to remind them constantly to say hello, say goodbye. I have to constantly do that, and I have to do it myself to them. But I notice that on their own they will.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing. It's they don't to you, and they don't show it to you because I guess it's the same thing. They feel like, oh, I know this already. Mm-hmm. But if you put them in an environment with strangers, they do tend to wake up and be like, oh, yeah, okay, I gotta say hi to everybody. Yeah. And then you have to have a desfile of handshakes, right?
Exactly.
The parade of handshakes. When
and hugs and kisses.
Hugs and kisses. When you say hello to a whole group of people.
Hi,
the worst thing's at a party, right?
Oh, yeah. When you just got there and it's full of people already. And obviously, because we're Latinos, we got there 1 hour and a half late.
Yeah.
So everybody's there, blah, blah, and you're like, hello, hi,
Hey,
how are you?
You don't know who to say hello. You don't know who's from the house and who's not. So you just gotta say hello to everybody one by one.
Exactly.
Hi, how are you? Hi, how
Just
are
to
you?
make
Hi,
sure. That's funny. But okay, so going on, another one is say thank you and say please. Since we're like super, super little, that's the first thing they'll teach you. When, for example, I've seen this, when you're playing with kids and they give you something just because they wanted to give you something, you'll say thank you, and you say it very slow so they can understand that you're trying to say thank you. And then so they realize when somebody gives something to you, you should also say thank you. And then when they're starting to grow up, that they're starting to talk, you start to say, okay, you gotta say please, por favor, and then thank you, gracias. And that's funny. And that's something that I think Latino communities are big on.
Yeah. And the funny thing is when you get older, you kind of let that go. And then sometimes you have to realize, I mean, that's the thing, man. Sometimes you start mingling with other people and you start realizing people don't do that. And you're like, why am I giving thanks to the whole freaking world? Fuck everybody.
Yeah.
It happens. Eventually, you start to pick and choose where you use it.
Yeah. It's true. So next one is sitting correctly. So basically, maintain your posture, maintain your image, maintain your profile. When you're outside, don't sit like you're sitting in your couch in your house or in your bed. Try to maintain a posture that looks
is
good.
Gone. Those type of manners are gone.
Yeah, that's something that we should take back.
I don't
bring
know.
it back.
I mean, if you're riding the subway in New York, you see people are sitting all kinds of ways.
Yeah,
they don't
that's
give
the
a
worst.
shit. If you're sitting in an office, you're sitting all day, you see everybody's just slouching, and I slouch all day. I start sinking into my chair. Every once in a while I gotta sit back up. But I mean, the only time that I really notice like, oh shit, sit up, is if I'm eating at a dinner.
Yeah.
For some reason, dinner still becomes a thing where I'm like, okay, here I gotta sit up.
And going into eating, another one is eating correctly. And eating correctly meaning try not to burp, slurp, chew with your mouth open, or grab your fork like a shovel.
Yeah, my kids are guilty of all of those things.
Yes, it's very disgusting. But the thing is, which is funny, I think you don't realize this until you get out of your comfort zone and of your environment, and then you start communicating or sharing with other people. I think that's when you realize, oh yeah, there are things that you should not do, the things that you should, just keep it together. And I don't know.
I mean, okay, so I would blame, and I've analyzed this because my kids just do not know how to fucking eat. They don't know how to eat. My kids shovel. First of all, my older son, he eats, and I pointed it out to him, and he hated me for it. But I told him, he didn't understand me. That I said, dude, you're eating prison style. What's wrong with you? And he looked at me like, Dad, what do you mean prison style? Yeah. Like he just never heard that, and I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on? Eating prison style is when you hover over your plate with your arm and you shovel the spoon and you just throw food in your mouth. You scoop it and toss it in your mouth instead of putting your lips around the spoon. And he was doing that, and I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? Nobody's gonna steal your food. You're home. You're at a table. You're eating properly. You got a nice plate of food. Yeah. And so I make him sit up, and he was all like, ah. Then the chewing with the mouth open, both of them. Yeah. And the slurping. Yeah. And they don't realize it, and I'm like, dude, I can hear you from a mile away. I'm sitting in the other side of the room, and I can hear you.
Exactly.
And I was analyzing why they might be doing this, and I think one thing that I might say is, aside from maybe them just not
paying attention,
but I think it's fast food does this. When you eat with your hands, you eat fast food, you eat burgers and chicken nuggets or pizzas or things like that, things that don't require silverware and they don't require patience. Yeah. Because you're basically just stuffing the food in your mouth. You're not chopping it into pieces and eating it slowly. Yeah. I think people get used to that, and that makes you forget. How to sit down and eat.
No, and when you eat fast food, you can eat in the restaurant, but it's not as formal as going to dinner in your house
I
or
mean, you're literally taking mouthfuls of food.
Yeah.
You're putting the burger in your mouth and taking a mouthful.
Yeah.
You're not chopping it and placing it in your mouth carefully in bite sizes.
And I think what is difficult is when, let's say, you changed the way you used to eat, and then you have older people in your family that it's a certain way, and you get to this point, you cannot tell them. I don't know. You cannot tell them, hey, you should eat this way. Hey, you're eating like this. I don't know. It's like out of respect. I'll be like, well, okay, I'll guess.
Listen, I
guess I have to, just deal with it.
The funniest thing.
That's it.
The funniest thing is when you're in an office. This happens in my office.
Yeah.
We all tend to eat at our desks, which is a bad habit, but we do it. And you can hear a person a cubicle away chewing or crunching. And when you have multiple people doing this, all you hear all around you is chewing and crunching and slurping and all that. And you become so self-conscious because you're like, you might eat a cracker. You're like,
I know.
And you're like, oh my God, everybody heard me fucking eating my cracker. Or my Doritos. Like, why'd I eat this? And it's funny. I mean, that's what it is. Like, as you get older, you start to let this stuff go. I guess, hopefully, that's a good reason and a good excuse to go to dinner out in a nice restaurant is to remind yourself, right?
Yeah.
To remind yourself of these
De
things.
los Buenos Modales. Por favor, que no se les olvide. Okay, so this next one is something that I don't think it's happening anymore, and is let the ladies go first. So if you open a door and let's say there's a lady behind you, even if you don't know her, open the door and let her go first, and then you will go. And I don't think this is happening, but I think that is more also because of all the movements that are going on. And it's not like like the feminism and all this. I think that is making a thing in society where everybody can do whatever they feel. Not meaning something bad, but meaning that everybody has the control. Yeah. So if I open the door and I'm a lady, I can just go in, whatever. I don't need somebody to open the door for me, and that's fine.
Yeah. So nowadays it's just every man for himself, every man and woman for himself. Whoever gets there first,
exactly.
Open the door, get through, and if it slams in your face, fuck it.
I don't care. Exactly. But at least I think that at least for your abuelitas, please open the door for her. Please, at least for your abuelita or for your mother.
I've had situations in offices where I'll be with a group of coworkers and we'll get to a door, and I'll have that juggle in my head, and I'll have that awkward thing where like, they don't know who's supposed to, and I'm like, and I'm thinking I'm trying to be polite, and I'm like, but I don't want to offend you, but I'm trying to be polite, and I'm like, and then I like open the door and I'm like, so then I exaggerate and be like after you, and I make a whole thing of it just to make it obvious that I decided to do that. Break the ice and just do it.
I know.
Fuck it, cause fuck it.
Yeah.
It's better than being awkward and being like.
Exactly.
Some people respond well. Some people don't even acknowledge it. They just walk right through it.
I think it also depends on the situation and how you do it exactly. Because if you do it like with, I don't know, like if your attitude is like, because I'm the man, I'm opening the door, we're gonna be like, no, it's okay. Okay, you go. It's fine. Whatever. And the same when you're on the train and you're just standing because you want to stand. I don't need to sit down, and somebody will go even touch you.
I've seen that.
And say, hey, do you want to sit down? I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need to. And you're with your headphones, so you're not paying attention, and they scare you when they touch you. And I'm like, what? No, please don't touch me.
I saw a dude on the train the other day, and this just reminded me of that. A dude politely forced a woman to sit down.
No.
Yeah, he basically forced her to sit down, to take the chair.
No.
He got up and made such a big fucking deal about it. Like, no, please sit down. No, please. Like, he got up, went across the thing to her. Yeah. She wasn't even near him.
Yeah.
And was like, no, I'm getting up. And like, he made sure nobody else took the chair. And he was like, no, please sit down. And she was like, no, I'm fine. And he was like, no, please, come on, sit down. Look, sit down. And like, somebody else was going to take it. And he was like, no. And then he was telling, like, he made such a big fucking to do to it that the girl was like, I don't want to sit down.
Right.
Get away from me.
Right.
And she just stood. And then he got off on the next stop. But that was so weird.
Yeah.
That's when it goes bad.
Exactly. That's when
when manners go bad, right?
Exactly. You don't push it. You don't have to push it. So to finish, it will be, the next one will be, because we're doing a podcast, listen without interrupting. But this happens a lot in Latino communities. I don't even know how this is part of our manners. Because with our aunts and mothers and everything, they're all just talking on top of each other, Nobody can hear a thing.
Yeah.
When you go to, let's say all your family is together, when you go to the house of your aunt and everybody's there, everybody's talking.
They're all talking on top of each other.
Yeah, and you cannot understand a thing. But and that's why in Latino families there's so many bochinches.
Oh.
Because nobody can listen to each other.
They don't get the whole story.
No, exactly. They get like pieces. And then from those little pieces, they do the whole story, which is not true. And then everybody's like, pero yo no dije eso, pero ella dijo lo otro. Y oh my God, no. So I think that this is something that we can incorporate to our manners as Latinos. Let's listen to each other to understand and not to respond. That's very important. Listen to understand, and I think that then our relationships will be much better.
Yeah, I think I want to add one thing about manners that there might be a couple that pop into my head, but one that pops into my head right now, that back to food and Latino families, is the whole thing about you go to somebody's house and they offer you food.
Oh yeah.
Oh, if they offer you food, don't say no.
No. That's gonna be the fight for the whole day.
Yeah.
The whole afternoon you're gonna be there.
And I remember hearing this growing up. Goes into a cliche or a stereotype of Puerto Rican families, which I did see it.
Yeah.
I did see it firsthand. Yeah. If you refuse it, oh, forget about it. Then you're the guy. Like, that's your nickname.
Exactly.
Oh, they offer you food, right? And you're like, no, it's all right. And then they go, oh, you don't want? And then, are you sure? And like, no, it's okay. But you're sure? And you're like, no. And then, like, let's say if it was chicken or something. Oh, no. The next time they see you, el que no le gusta pollo. Oh, no, he doesn't like chicken. Don't.
O el que no come.
El que no come.
No,
yeah, he's on a diet.
No come.
He's on a. Oh, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, he can come. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he doesn't eat anyway, so it's fine. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, it's a joke, and now they got to drag it out and turn it into a whole thing. So I don't know. There's something about that. Like, if you say no, forget about it. They get offended, and it becomes a whole big to-do.
Yeah.
I think I've seen people, and I think my sons are gonna end up doing that in the future. But I've seen people create the faux pas of asking what it is and then saying no.
Oh my God.
Like, as if they have to know what's on the menu first before they can tell you yes or no.
That's so unpolite. Like, if I made food and you came to my house and I'm offering you food and you're gonna ask me what did I cook? You're gonna eat whatever I cook.
I think I don't know what it is, but yeah, there used to be. I remember growing up, whatever's on the food, whatever's on the plate is
That's what you're getting.
You got no choices.
No.
I think because of the whole foodie movement, people have become more aware of what there is.
No.
And now they're a little more like looking at what they're eating. And
yeah,
like,
but no. No, because you're coming. No, because.
But then what if you're a vegan? What if you're one of these
but you can say it.
Glucose, whatever the hell. People.
Okay, but I don't think. Let's say I invited you to my house a week ago. When I send you the message to come to my house, you can say, hey, just to let you know, if you are preparing any food, I'm vegan.
Right.
Or if you prepare any food, I'm allergic to gluten. So for you to keep that in mind. And let me know if that's a problem. I will take whatever.
By the way, my vegan friend is not a vegan anymore.
Oh, no? Wow. That was fast.
That was fast. He got over that in 3 months.
Yeah.
Got over that shit.
That's funny. But no, you see, even him, he told us, like, hey, we did like a little get together. And he said, hey, I'm vegan, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. If you tell me, yeah, I will prepare something for you. But if you didn't tell me nothing and you're coming to my house, no, papito. You're eating whatever I did. Because you're not even contributing to the cooking. If at least you brought whatever you want to eat, so that's fine. But
now you guys can understand why they get offended. You hear how she gets offended.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't do that. If I go to somebody's house and they offer me food, I wouldn't do that. Even if it's something that maybe I don't want to eat at the moment. Or something. I'll eat just a little bit and then I'll be like, okay, I'm fine.
What about the other thing? You can't eat in front of people. You can't have company and not offer them food. That's the other side of it. That's the flip side. The flip side is if you're in your house.
Yeah. That's something very Latino.
Yeah, you might as well be dead. Like, you just might as well just be dead right there. You might as well just drop dead of embarrassment.
If you don't have food and you have company or guests,
and then you start trying to eat something and you can't offer them.
Exactly. No. That's a no. If you have people over and let's say you didn't do food shopping and you don't have food and all this, just order a pizza, order something that they can eat with you, because that's very bad.
Even if they don't eat it. Seriously, I'd rather have it and throw it out.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Because I can save it for the next day. Even if I have more food than what I need, I prefer that I have leftovers that I don't have anything.
Yeah.
Or that I don't have enough.
That's
tough, because I know how I am. And I like to eat. And if I go to a place where I'm going to drink and there's no food, I'm going to be like, oh my God, what is this? They want me to die.
Well, It seems like a lot of our manners are based around food.
Yeah. I mean, food is very important in Latino communities.
Yes.
And we like to share.
Yeah.
And that's something also, I think that's why it's so important for us to have food when you have guests, or just to appreciate when somebody made food for you. Just appreciate whatever they do. And yeah, that's another thing about us Latinos. We like to share and we like to just have everybody experience our experiences.
I mean, maybe for another podcast, another episode, we might discuss how this plays into social media and cell phones and communication and modales and manners, cell phone manners and online manners, and things that are broken constantly in Latino culture. I think we kind of discussed a little bit about that in a different episode.
Yeah,
these are the ones that we grew up with, right? These are the basic ones that we grew up with. Some of these things, I know we didn't cover all of them, but a lot of them have to do with food.
Yeah.
You wanted me to teach you, right? This is street reality.
Hablando español.
Dale, hablando español.
All right, Carla, what do you got for us?
Okay, let's start with sacrifice. How you say sacrifice in Spanish?
Sacrifice is sacrificio.
Yes. How do you say university or college in Spanish?
Wow, that one always gets me. What? It's not colegio. Colegio is school.
Yeah.
Universidad?
Yeah. Universidad.
Universidad. That's the part that gets me off.
Yeah.
Universidad.
Yeah.
Universidad.
Okay. How do you say freelance in Spanish?
Wow, I've never heard freelance. I've never used freelance in Spanish. Ooh, I'm going to learn. Let's go.
Independiente. I mean...
Independent.
It's kind of... You will mix the word independiente with the work that you're doing. Because there's not really a translation for it. So let's say if I'm a freelance...
Artist,
I'll be un artista independiente. O a periodista independiente. Un journalist. Independent journalist. And things like that.
Artista independiente.
That's what you are.
Ooh, nice.
Let's see. Office.
Office, I got this one. Oficina.
Yes, correct. Next one, how do you say department?
Department? Departamento.
Ooh, yes.
So you're so proud of me.
How do you say employee?
Employee is empleado. Empleado.
Yes.
That's a good one. All right.
How do you say job interview?
That one's tough. Job interview. How do you say it?
Entrevista de trabajo.
That makes sense. Job interview. Trabajo, job. Entrevista. You just got to flip it.
Yeah, exactly.
So job interview. Entrevista de trabajo.
Yeah.
Entrevista de trabajo. Got it.
Yeah. How do you say career?
Career. Carrera.
Yes.
which is a race.
Yes. And how do you say full-time?
Oh, I don't know that. Full-time? I've never heard that.
Tiempo completo.
That makes sense. So when you're working full-time, let's say in a Latin American country, you say, I'm a full-time...
Trabajando tiempo completo.
Tiempo completo.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but it's
It's
literal.
not,
It's a literal translation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiempo completo, full-time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's part-time?
I think it's tiempo parcial.
Tiempo parcial is part-time. Okay.
Very
Very helpful, Carla. Very helpful.
Yeah. Okay, next one is mouth closed.
Eating with your mouth closed?
Yeah.
This goes from our good manners portion of the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
Okay. Mouth closed. Mouth, boca, closed, cerrado,
Cerrada.
cerrada, boca cerrada,
Yes.
boca cerrada. Mouth closed.
How do you say courtesy?
Courtesy. Courtesy is cortesía,
Yes.
which is my name. My last name comes from
Cortes.
Cortes, cortesía, which
Yes.
is...
Es de los reyes de allá, él es
Oh
famoso.
my God.
Es descendiente directo del que llegó en México que se llamaba Cortés.
Well, actually, cortesía, ser cortés is a word.
Yeah.
If you are cortés,
Yeah.
it is to be
Is that you two are-
courteous,
Uh-huh.
to
To be polite.
be polite. Yeah.
Okay. Next one will be masticar.
Masticar, masticar. That's a song, right? Masticar.
Masticar.
Masticar. Masticar is chew, to chew. Masticar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And next one and last one will be hug.
Hug. Abrazo.
Yes.
Hug.
Yes.
Abrazo. Aw. Hugs. Abrazos.
Hugs for all of you.
All right. Thank you, Carla. Thank you for teaching me Spanish.
No problem. A la orden.
Well, that wraps up another episode.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
No, thank you. Thank you for all your advice. Very spot on.
Well, next episode is episode 12, Nemesis. We have a special guest, Alex Armando Torres. He's a local filmmaker. He's a producer.
Yeah.
And he's going to come on to speak about his projects, his background, his inspirations.
And on Culture Talk, he shared with us his experience as a Latino filmmaker and also his inspiration behind his production company, Arawak Films.
And at the end, as always...
We did a Hablando Español con Alex.
Oh, yeah, that
You
was
guys
fun.
have to stay tuned because that was good.
Yeah. All right.